Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Dr. Michael Hartley. I'm a senior partner here at ActionCOACH here in Central Texas. And today I have our guest, Roy Smith. He's the executive protection specialist and owner of Viking Tactical Security Group. Roy, thank you for joining today.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Hartley, for having me on. I was looking forward to this for a very long time. I'm excited to be here.
Oh man, we're gonna have some fun. So today we're gonna be talking about his business and his journey as a business owner, kind of the ups, the downs, best practices, and really kind of share a peek into what it really is like to own and operate a business. And real quick, if this is your first time watching one of our Spotlight interviews, please subscribe and like it so that way you start getting the notifications every time we drop one of our new conversations. So Roy, welcome, and thank you again for being here today. For our audience, please give a brief overview of kind of your background and why you got into business ownership in the first place.
Well, once again, I have a journey just like a lot of guys. I went to college. I was a military family. We come from a military family, so my journey was supposed to be going to the military, following my father's footsteps. Upon graduating from college, I got steered in a different direction, which was law enforcement, and which was still my career path, but it was a different route. So I went law enforcement, moved to a couple different locations, was in Ohio, came back to Nebraska, where I'm originally from, got on a county sheriff's department out there in Iowa, was there for 4 years. I did some probation parole work, worked in sex offender treatment programs, was a head probation officer for a sex offender treatment program, dealing with all the sex offenders in that area. Relocated to Texas, where I became part of the state of Texas parole system, and then became an investigator for them, working on the gang task force down on the border. And I was there for 4 years, dealing with some of the gang members and cartels and drug trafficking, and working with local task force, local as well as federal task force in my duties. Then relocated to Arizona, where I got on board with Department of Homeland Security, I was a deportation aviation officer, where we were actually flying all over the world, removing some of the worst people that had entered our country. And those are some exciting 7 years of my career. And then I was fortunate to get asked to become independent contractor for the DoD. And I was on the border again, in Arizona as well as Texas, doing some security protection work. And then once again, stuff just fell in place. I was approached by a managing contractor for a construction company, and he asked me to open my own security company to handle one of their contracts down on the border in Texas. Because of my background, I knew the area, I had local contacts, and then boom, Viking was created, and then 3 years later, here I am.
I think I could have just opened up and said, welcome our badass guest today. Like, that's just ridiculous, man. And as someone who lived in the Rio Grande Valley on the border for a while, like I can only imagine the things that you've done and seen. So you get asked to open up this business for a specific purpose. You go about doing it. Tell us a little bit about like how your role has shifted, or if it's shifted since originally opening up to kind of where you're at today.
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to use the terminology that we use in the law enforcement and military group. Is called door kicker. Door kickers are the agents and the officers that go through the door. I've always been a door kicker. That's what I wanted. That's what I love. I enjoy the energy, the rush, the thrill, the being with the team, the camaraderie, the safety, the protection. That's what I grew up with for almost 20 years. So to open up a business was outside of my total environment, my element. I wasn't prepared. I didn't want to be behind a desk. I still wanted to be that door kicker. And when we started up the company, it was with that mentality that I'd still be out in the field. I was going to be one of the guys on the border while we're doing this contract. Well, we had a change in administration. That contract went away. So now everything shifted. And now I had to figure out, okay, how is Viking now going to survive? It was COVID, we didn't have an opportunity. What we're going to do. I was fortunate that some of the contacts I had from law enforcement in Texas had their own security company. I reached out to them. They threw some contracts my way, and we started rolling, like that. But it's a different switch in a mental status when you're going from being the worker to now being the owner. And I'm still working on switching and getting out of that mindset.
So when you think about like kind of where your time is going, then would you say that, I mean, are you still putting time towards both like in the job being the door kicker and owner? Are you still kind of doing both a little bit, or have you fully shift at least your time towards more one than the other? Where are you at there?
I would say I'm probably about maybe 60-40, 60% owner, 40% still out in the field. I personally, I'd like it if it was more 50-50, but it's just not possible. It's just not possible. So there's some contracts that I do that I am very visible at, and I enjoy it. And I think because of that, because I am visible, it has helped us with that client. They're our longest client that we've had in the Austin area. And because that they have expanded with us, we are now branching off to all their other locations that this business is growing. They've asked me to relocate and start and protect their assets and interests in now Florida, which we're going to do starting in September because of that connection. So I'm proud that I can still be that in the field guy, because I think the clients, when they see me, they know that I take pride in making sure that the job is being done and being done correctly.
That's cool. So kind of along those lines then, what type of businesses do you primarily serve? Like if I'm in the audience watching this, I'm like, oh, I think I might be able to use you. Like what type of businesses is good for like going, oh yeah, I should be reaching out to you?
That's a good question. And that's the evolution of Viking. When Viking started off, we classify ourselves as a high threat security agency, so border contract jobs, DOD contracts, those were the things that we wanted to pride on because that's what I was used to doing. But once we had to switch, our focus kind of switched as well. So then we started doing we had to figure out where we wanted to be. And one of the things that we found out that Viking is good at was two main industries. One was event security. So I was very honored and lucky to have some good people who brought me on board. We've done over a dozen political events, whether it's rallies or actually conferences, where we're providing the armed security as well as executive protection security. And I had a really good person who took me under the wing and showed me how to perform these jobs at each of the locations we did. And then that expanded out to huge company conferences and conventions, also in Texas as well as in other states, even down to weddings and pool parties for high net value individuals. So event security is something that we really pride ourselves that we have a good stranglehold and understand and knowledge of. The other area where we are very adverse at is corporate security. We have a very good corporate security model and program to a point where we can actually integrate our security knowledge as well as our executive protection knowledge, and we infuse those together to provide a complete comprehensive program for the client so that they feel safe from the minute they walk in the door to the minute they walk to their car, that we can handle almost any and every solution. But we do have the ability, like I said, the client that we service, it's not in that realm, but it's armed security. So if you combine the two, events dealing with the population that they have to deal with, because their assets are in a high bar area, so they get a high traffic of people who are intoxicated, people who are unruly, and then you incorporate corporate security protecting the employees and the workers. That's where we can fit in and handle on the armed security side too.
So for those watching, I hope that they're getting this one big thing, because target marketing in a business is extremely important. You are so crystal clear on what you offer and who you offer it to. That's really important, because then we get into this one thing that a lot of businesses struggle with, which is how do you make yourself unique in the sea of competition that you have, right? Everyone has some level of competition somewhere. So how have you gone about going, here's how we stand apart from anybody else that someone might be looking at?
That has been the issue that we have faced ever since almost day one. After we didn't get the border contracts, trying to figure out where do we want to be, like you said, find our niche, and the thing about security is security can encompass so many different realms. I mean, hotels, corporations, parking lots, retail, gas station. I mean, it just security, so you can kind of adapt security to almost anything and everywhere. But to hone in, like you mentioned, and figure out, okay, where are we good at? Where do we want to focus our attention to? It took some time. And I think actually I had a clarity moment when I was on vacation with my family, when it dawned on me, because someone asked me, like, what are you good at? And I told them, we're good at event security, because I got approached to do another musical festival in Florida. And I started telling this guy exactly what he needs to do. Boom, 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 boom. And he was like, I never thought of that. And then it clicked. Oh my gosh, Roy, you actually have a knowledge of how to handle any type of events, from rodeos to music concerts to conventions to conferences, and that's when it clicked. And then the corporate security was, we got asked by one of our clients to take over their corporate security. And when I created the program, they fell in love with it. So that's when we figured out these are our two areas that we are specialists in, with a sprinkle, well, not sprinkle, but that personal protection, that executive protection key component that is infused to the corporate security is where we fit.
So when you open up a business, right, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of things where especially when it's someone's first business and they're just getting started, your sector, like, it very, very much inside and out. And so kind of coming out of marketing focus a little bit more into best practices, when you made that choice to kind of go, okay, yep, I'm gonna start this thing and go down this path, like, they didn't get to see it, but even before we started, I was like, how do you even view yourself in the business, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, my team or something, these people, they think this way, I think this way. It's fascinating when we think about this journey. First and foremost, like, talk briefly just on how long this journey's been for you. Like, how long have you been in business? And then part two of this is then, if you were to look back over since you really started the business, what would you say has been your single biggest, like, lesson or hurdle you had to overcome that you then learned from?
Good question. So we've been in business for 3 years now. We became an incorporated entity back in May of 2020. So right during COVID. So that was huge, because, I don't want to date myself, but as the vice president, Diana Lambert, says, I'm still back in the old age. So I'm a knock on your door. Hey, this is us. Here we are. And that's not how you market anymore. So when we started the company, I was like, oh, all I got to do is I'll hit up these locations. I'll walk in. I'll have my business card. We'll get business. And I tried that for like the first 45 days and nothing. Nothing was happening. And so that was not only just COVID, but understanding marketing and how to market, how to reach out to your potential client was our biggest hurdle. It still is our biggest hurdle. And we're still trying to figure it out. And we don't know it. I mean, it's a question that I ask fellow colleagues all the time. How are you marketing? How are you doing this? And no one has a 100% bona fide, this is how you do it. It's like, well, we do a little of this, we do a little of this, and it's that. So that's the biggest hurdle that we as a company, as Viking as a company, is getting our message, our services out to the clients that we want to target, that we want to help and be involved in making them safe.
If there was one thing that you wish more people knew about your business, what would that one thing be?
That we're here. You know,
Like, we're here.
That we're here. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, we're 3 years in, and, you know, I mean, some people who know of us, we have a very good reputation. We're very well recognized in the military community. We hire about 80 to 85% of our workforce is military veterans. We pride ourselves in that. Like I said, I'm
Nice.
Military family. I love my military veterans. I love my law enforcement veterans because I'm a former law enforcement officer. So we pride ourselves, and that's what we look for. We pride ourselves in training and educating all of our officers, no matter if you've been in this industry for 1 year or if you've been in the industry for 20 years. You know, you could always learn something. I learn something every single day, and I push that. So just to get our name out there to clients, let them know Viking is here. And if you have an issue or a concern or a need, we can help you resolve that to give you that peace of mind and not worry about it anymore.
So thinking kind of future pace, right? So that's where we're at, right? Like that's what we're grinding through today and working through. You think 3 to 5 years in the future. So double the entity's existence, 3 at least years from now. Where's the vision? Like, where do you kind of see your goals for the business kind of moving forward?
Well, my 5-year plan for the company, 5 years from now, is I want to see Viking as the #1 or premier security agency, in Austin, Texas. Our headquarters is in Austin, Texas, but we have contracts and jobs throughout the whole state of Texas, as well as in other states as well. You know, but I really want to see us as the premier agency in Austin, Texas, not because of the years that we've been here, but just because of the level of performance and work and quality that we put out there. That's where I want to see the company. And also because of just the staffing. A lot of the officers and agents that we have, they love the culture that Diana Lamberts and myself have created. You know, they really love what we stand for. They know that I'm personable. I was just talking to a guy just the other day. He's going through a personal situation, and I expressed to him that I had something similar like that, you know, last year. So to let him know, hey, look, I'm here. You know, you could call me, you could talk to me about it. I want to be here to help you. So we want to infuse that mentality and create a beautiful culture for people that they want to come and work, and then also provide opportunities for people to take care of their families by providing protection for our clients, you know, and being that overall protector.
It's hard to talk about scaling a business without talking about team. I love that you hit on it and kind of how you look at it. It's one of the most important things, right? Business is math and business is people. And so like you get the math stuff down and the numbers and all that. And then it's like, it's all about the people part, right? And you got to get that locked in to really be able to grow any business. We've covered a handful of different topics today. And for those who are watching, I encourage you to save this, come back to it over again. There's a lot of good information here, kind of on marketing and shifting, going out of like the door kicker 100% to like, okay, now I got to start thinking about being something different than that as the business grows.
Yes.
While also holding some ties to it to grow business and things like that. So before we wrap up, I have a couple quick fire questions. First thing that pops to the mind type stuff. So First thing, what's the key to success for you?
Dedication.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
What is the one piece of advice you'd give to any other business owner if they were to pick up the phone and talk to you?
Don't be afraid. Stick your neck out there and let it get chopped off.
Yeah. What's the one thing that you've read or watched recently that like could immediately, like, you're like, if someone's reading a book or listening to a podcast or something, like they got to go listen or read to this thing because it'll help shift them a little bit?
It was from another colleague. It wasn't a book, but he told me to I'm going to use this analogy. Don't be a handyman, be a plumber, be a specialist in your area and focus on that, and do not be like I'm all over the place. And that's why, like I said, we do have technically two companies that handle two different sides of the spectrum because we want to be specialists in each thing that we do.
Man, that is one of the best advice you can get, right? Don't be generalized, because then you're going to get lost. Be specialized. Yep. Man, that is so important. Okay, before we get into the final question, how can others learn more about your business and find you? Where do they go to find more information about Viking?
Well, we are on social media. We have websites. The main website is www.vikingtsg.com. That's tangosierragolf.com. We're also on Instagram under the same handle. Or you could call us. Like I said, we have a local office here in Austin, Texas, under Viking Tactical Security Group. Our other company is Viking Executive Protection Solutions. That's www.vikingepsechopaulsierra.com. So that's where we're at. Phone number is open 24/7. I'm always available 22/7. You know, I gotta get at least 2 hours of sleep, you know.
I like that. All right, last question for the day. What is most inspiring to you today?
What's most inspiring is when we do protection for one of our clients. They're a national media carrier, and the reporters send a recommendation letter back to their director saying how safe and secure that they felt. Situation or no situation happened, but they were not worried, and they love the protection that my agents did for them. That it warms my heart every single time, and that's what I look for. I look for all my clients to feel that way.
You really are just a badass dude, man. Thank you, Roy, for joining us today. For those watching, again, I'm Dr. Michael Hartley on behalf of Roy and Viking. Make it a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.